Home is supposed to be the one place that doesn't turn on you right. The one lock you trust, and the one porch light. That means you're okay. But the day I met Paige Whitlock, clipboard queen of the Cedar Crest Community Council, I learned how fast a neighborhood can feel like a courtroom with nicer landscaping. She greeted me with that tight smile people use when they're about to hand you a ticket, Malcolm. We like order here, and I thought, sure, who doesn't like order until order meant fines for wind chimes, a warning about my daughter's chalk hopscotch, and a letter saying my mailbox blue was one shade too cheerful. You know what I mean. At first I paid. I shrugged. I told myself peace was worth a few fees. Then one weekend we came back from visiting my parents. The front door was unlocked, drawers cracked open, that stale feeling of someone else's breath still hanging in the house and on the camera footage. There she was, Paige, strolling through my living room like she'd misplaced her crown, flipping our mail with 2 fingers, calling it a surprise inspection like the Constitution was a suggestion. And that's when the part of me that always tries to be reasonable finally said, enough. I hired a lawyer, Sam Ortiz. Quiet voice, eyes that have seen bullies blink. We kept everything, letters, emails, meeting minutes where my objections curiously vanished. And months later, in a courtroom that smelled like old paper and burnt coffee, the judge watched Paige walk through my home on video and raised an eyebrow so high it changed the weather. We showed the dues spreadsheet where mine looked like it had swallowed a grenade. We won damages. The board suspended her. And still, the house felt sour like a glass that never rinses clean. So we sold, moved in with my parents for a while, stacked boxes to the ceiling. And I looked for a place with real freedom, not the kind that comes stapled to a bylaw. I found a modest 2-story on county land, a little pool out back, a yard big enough for my kids to crash into. Summer, I triple-checked the parcel map, then took a folder of deeds and stamps to the county records desk and asked the guy in reading glasses if there was any world where Cedar Crest touched this dirt. He pushed up his glasses and said, "You're in the county. They have no jurisdiction." Sweetest 7 words I've ever heard. Move day felt like crossing a finish line, made of duct tape, and hope friends hauled furniture. My wife started nesting in the kitchen like she'd been there for years. And for a few hours, it was just sweat and jokes, and that soft hum of life rearranging itself. Then a silver SUV rolled to a stop across the street window, down sunglasses, blonde Bob Paige. Of course, she stepped out with that rehearsed warmth that always arrives with a threat tucked inside it. Good morning. Welcome to the neighborhood. And I didn't say a thing. I just looked at her, watched the recognition crawl across her face like a slow-motion wreck. "Yeah," she breathed me, I said. And my friends froze mid-box like we were all extras in a courtroom drama without a script. "What are you doing here?" she said. "Moving in," I said. "This is my house." "No," she fired back, "that can't be. This property belongs to Cedar Crest, purchased 2 days ago as a community asset. I have paperwork." And I actually laughed. "Yeah, that happened. Do you ever get tired of making things up?" She didn't explode. That's the scary part. She just gave me a cold, robotic smile. "I'm going to need you to stop unloading and vacate while we sort this out." And I stepped closer, so only she could hear me. "Paige, get in your car and leave. This deed has my name on it. Recorded, notarized, stamped. Whatever fantasy you're operating under does not live here." She turned, slid back behind the wheel parked across my driveway like a tick on a vein, and sat filming, waiting. When I tapped her window and told her to go, or I'd call the police, She tilted her head. Funny. You should say that. And a cruiser rolled in, like it had been idling around the corner. She gave the officers a stack of papers with a flourish. I handed them my folder, like a guy who's been snake-bit before, and now keeps anti-venom in his pocket, and 5 minutes later, I heard the phrase that makes your stomach drop, and your lawyer get real busy. There's a discrepancy. Both sets look official. We need you to come down to the station, under those fluorescent lights that make everyone look guilty. Sam arrived with his gray suit and his calm flipped Page's papers and started making those small, disgusted noises. Wrong header font missing. Seal ring, a notary who died 3 years ago, while mine read clean chain of ownership straight as a plumb line. Real estate fraud detectives got looped, and here's your twist. The LLC that sold my home to the HOA didn't exist, the Nevada PO. Box had been closed for months and buried in email threads. A mid-level assessor's office guy named Reed had told Page, border lots never get checked. Just slide it through before the next cycle. Yeah, Reed got suspended by lunch. Page pivoted to victim. Called an emergency meeting. Tearfully said she'd been scammed while trying to purchase a guest retreat for the community. And for a minute, some folks clapped. Then others started asking tough questions. Why no vote? Why the empty account? Why? Was this the first time anyone had heard about a wellness center with my kitchen in it? Someone slipped me a photo of an internal statement showing a $200 transfer labeled Acquisition Phase 1. Sam filed for an injunction so fast the ink smoked a judge barred the HOA from coming near my property or pretending it owned so much as my mailbox, while the investigation played out, and we tried to resume a normal life, which lasted about as long as a cheap candle. A thick envelope with no return address landed in our mailbox, get out while you still can. Then egg on the garage lights, smashed a trash bag of dead fish lobbed over our back gate. Messy juvenile pointed, and my wife went from smiling to checking windows at night, while I reminded myself why I'd installed cameras at every angle. We caught a hooded figure tripping mask, slipping enough of a face for an ID local homeowner Cedar Crest guy arrested. Swore it was a prank. Said Page had nothing to do with it. Then a plain white envelope appeared with a flash drive marked for your eyes only. I opened it on an old laptop and found chat logs from their neighborhood app. Not bake sales, not lost to cats. He's bluffing. Make it rough and he'll fold. We can't touch the house, but the pool's fair game. Chlorine bomb. If needed, pressure makes people move. Turn up the heat, and my lawyer said what I was already thinking. This isn't just harassment, it's conspiracy. The judge issued a no-contact order that read like a fence in ink, and still at 3 a.m., a man climbed the back fence with a bottle of pesticide. Popped the pool filter panel. Started pouring, slipped and dropped the bottle, left fingerprints got picked up and told the cops. Page called it a symbolic gesture, even handed him a prepaid visa for supplies. That was the warrant, and at her house they found a file labeled with my address. Diagrams, a reclamation strategy like she was planning a corporate takeover instead of stalking a family. She was arrested. I wish I could tell you that was the end, but machines built on fear don't shut off with one switch. People flipped the Vice President Linda Carver, the same neighbor who once measured my grass like she was recalibrating the Hubble, walked into the station with the real ledger on a flash drive over 500,000 gone in 4 years. Phantom contractors, consultant fees to nowhere, a recurring line called internal operations that looked a lot like spa trips and hush money. The district attorney called it criminal mismanagement of community funds. I called it theft in golf shirts. And then, the night the smoke alarm screamed flames licking the front door like hungry dogs. A Molotov tossed on camera. The getaway car's plate caught by the cul-de-sac. Cam registered to Derek, one of the 10 residents in our suit. He lied and then cracked. Said Paige had been telling people, families like mine ruin the culture. Someone needed to send a message. Heat gets things moving. And yeah, hearing that in a sworn statement felt like someone finally translated the crazy. Court isn't TV. It's slower, messier. The coffee's worse. But when it lands, it lands. Paige sat with 2 attorneys who looked like they charged by the breath. Hair darker jaw. Wired tight, Linda on the other side with eyes on the floor, and piece by piece the prosecution set the table. The fake sale, Reed's emails, the harassment, the pool poisoning, the attempted arson, the missing money until it stopped being a pile and turned into a picture even a generous person couldn't forgive. The judge ordered Cedar Crest dissolved as unsalvageable froze accounts, set restitution and personal liability, where it fit handed out probation and community service to a few, and sentenced Paige to time, no early release in the first stretch. We replaced the door drained and scrubbed the pool. My kids cannonballed like they were baptizing summer. My wife planted sunflowers along the porch scorch line like a quiet middle finger. I kept the cameras up because insurance is cheaper than regret. And one morning over coffee, I saw a short article. A former council president was denied early release after trying to organize a cleanliness committee in a place where cleanliness isn't a spiritual value. I laughed the good kind, yeah, that happened. A few days later, Linda showed up with a pie and an apology that tasted like a person finally letting go of fear. She said it was like a cult. Paige had something on. Everyone I told her, telling the truth. When it counted matters, she looked at my yard and said, "You didn't just move in. You tore something rotten down. If there's a tidy morale, I don't have it. I'm not a preacher. I'm just a dad who got tired of being managed by someone's need to feel important. But I learned that peace without boundaries is an invitation for bullies. That documentation is a love language when you're dealing with people who treat rules like weapons, and that the law still works if you're stubborn enough to stand in those fluorescent hallways and not blink. Maybe I pushed too far, asking the court to dissolve the council. Maybe that was the only honest ending. Maybe community means the quiet people who water their lawns and wave, not the loudest person with a clipboard and a thirst for control. What do you think? Was I right to push it that hard? Or should I have just paid the fines and painted the mailbox and taught my kids that chalk is contraband? You tell me. Drop your take in the comments, where you're watching from. Whether you've seen a neighborhood turn into a little kingdom, what justice looks like when the bully smiles while writing you up. And if you've lived something like this, say it out loud so the rest of us don't feel crazy.